This video is brought to you by Gamersubs. Use code MHB at checkout for 10% off your next order. I've platinumed Mafia 1 and Mafia 2 just recently, so by now you should know I'm a big fan of this series. It's an underrated series, and if you're a fan of the Mafia, mobster, crime family storylines, these games are must-plays. With that being said, I thought the Mafia series was dead after Mafia 3, in my opinion, was just a flop. I understand now it has more fans coming out of the woodwork, and that happens as games get older. But the fact is, Mafia 3 released in 2016, it was and still is a buggy mess, and it seriously harmed the series to the point I thought it was done for good. So I was very excited when I heard about a new Mafia game in the works, and it was always going to be a day one pickup for me as a longtime fan. But I can't say I wasn't nervous or skeptical going in. I knew if this was another Mafia 3 situation, the series was cooked. I liked the premise, the idea of going back to the early 1900s, setting it in Sicily, it sounded promising. So I picked up my copy of Mafia the Old Country Day 1, which was a first for me in 2025, I haven't picked up a new game all year, and it was time to see if the game was any good while getting that sweet platinum trophy. Oh, and I'm gonna drop a spoiler warning from here onwards. If you want to play the game for yourself or are on the fence about buying the game, my quick recommendation is, if you're a fan of the Mafia series, I think you'll really enjoy this game. It's not perfect, but overall, it's a quality game that I do recommend trying yourself, previous fan or otherwise. It's a good time. And no, you don't have to play the other games in the series to enjoy this one. As always, if you do end up enjoying the content and want to see more like it, like the video, leave a comment below if you've played The Old Country and what you thought, subscribe, and don't forget to check out my Twitch channel where I'll be live with plenty of platinum grabbing goodness. As always, it's not a Mafia Platinum journey if we don't have to beat the game on the hardest difficulty. It's a staple at this point, and honestly, I don't mind it. Again, outside of the classic race in Mafia 1, the difficulty has never been an issue for me. I actually enjoy the tension it brings to the gameplay, and that's true for the Old Country as well. I think I ended up dying twice, maybe 3 times here, but boy, were there some close calls in those knife fights. Anyway, that's really the only trophy I was looking out for in this step, because I just wanted to play and enjoy the game first and foremost without worrying about any collectibles or miscellaneous stuff along the way. I had no idea what the other trophies entailed, just that I needed to beat the game on hard. So I booted the game up and away we went. The game begins in 1904 Sicily, where we quickly meet our protagonist Enzo and his friend Gaetano, two Carusos, which is a word you'll hear a lot in this game. It means boy in Sicilian, but it's used to put people down who worked in the mines, work also being a loose term. It looks more like a slight upgrade from slavery. Anyway, Enzo and his mate are working at the sulfur mine owned by Don Spadaro and overseen by cruel underbosses, the Bastoni brothers. Enzo and his buddy make a plan to finally escape the mine, hoping to find a better future, but that goes poorly pretty quickly as a gas leak causes the mine to collapse, something the bosses knew was likely to happen after being warned, and this kills Gaetano. Enzo tries to get some just desserts for his fallen friend, wounding one of the brothers in a knife fight. Oh, and get used to these, I feel like they can be a love it or hate it type of deal. I'm a fan, I thought they were a great twist on Mafia 2's hand-to-hand combat, and on hard are extremely tense encounters. And we managed to escape and find a seemingly abandoned stable. The Caruso. Enzo escapes the mine. Unfortunately, the Bastonis are hot on our tail and nowhere close by, eventually spotting and cornering us when we get saved by the bell. Turns out this stable is in Don Teresi's territory, a rival family of the Spadaros who currently have a truce between one another. So with their tail between their legs, they leave Enzo alone and the Teresi family take us in to help work on the vineyard. This is where we meet our main supporting cast, starting with Luca. Remember Sam from Mafia? Yeah, this is his dad, and for this game, the mentor, Cesare, the douche, and the Don's daughter, Isabella, the dangerous love interest that most certainly won't bite us in the ass later. Do I blame Enzo though? Absolutely not. Anyway, while we're meeting the gang, we grab our first charm, which are modifiers you can find around the world, and some are game changers, especially on hard difficulty. This first one never changed. It was so good because it gives us a moment of invincibility when close to death, and when there's no health regen and the enemies do more damage, that's a huge safety net there. Seems pretty good for hard difficulty and gets us another trophy. Guest of honor. Enzo found a new home. Now, I'll say this here because it did come as the biggest surprise for me when playing the game. The old country is a slow burn. We don't get our first gunfight until deep into the 3rd chapter, which for me was about 2.5 hours in. Up to that point, it's a lot of stealth encounters, racing, and knife fights, but the gameplay is definitely on the back burner to start with, and I for one don't mind that here. It's not the most exciting, especially mission-wise when some tasks are as simple as carrying a crate, escorting someone, watching how business is done, but that's not all it is, and there's still enough highlights in the beginning to keep you on the hook gameplay-wise, while the story, world, and characters are being built up, and as a result, I was on the hook from beginning to end with this game. But if Red Dead 2's opening is too slow for you, I think you'll struggle here. Anyway, Enzo, now being part of the family, follows Luca and Cesare to help and learn the business, while also making a good impression on the right people, like for winning the Palio when the regular rider got wasted and couldn't front up. Then having a close call with one of the Bastoni brothers while making a delivery with Isabella, which is where we get scolded by Luca for being alone with the Don's daughter. Forza San Celeste. Enzo won the Palio. Which of course does nothing to deter Enzo as we meet Isabella in secret. Oh. Garden Rendezvous. Met Isabella in secret. Wasn't very secret. I kind of got busted straight away, but anyway. And go out to get ourselves some protection money, nicely and, well, not so nicely. This is where we meet the Galantes, sort of the middlemen or peacekeepers between the families, and it's here we team up with Leo. That's right, that Leo Galante, helping him grab some whiskey that was taken during customs. And finally, this is where we get our first taste of the gunplay as a farmer under our protection was robbed and we need to stamp out the thieves. Just quickly on the gunplay, I really liked it. It feels good, and I like the addition of your accuracy increasing the longer you aim down sights, adding a bit of strategy on hard since the longer you're exposed the more damage you could take, but also the quicker you can take out enemies. Plus, the enemy AI is actually good in the gunfights, stealth, hit and miss, but in the gunfights, they'll constantly push, pressure, and grenade your position. The family business. Enzo learned the ropes. Then we skip ahead to 1905, which is where we encounter another wrinkle in our pursuit of Isabella. The Dons promised her to Baron Fontanella's son, and we get tasked with Cesare to see that the two are safe on an excursion to the ruins. This, of course, doesn't go well as the two end up getting kidnapped, and now we need to fight our way through the goons to save them. First saving Isabella, before going after the Baron's son and learning who's behind this attack. A trip to the coast. Enzo saved Isabella. After saving Isabella's life, love is in the air as Enzo and Isabella admit their feelings for one another and the secret relationship begins. We also grab our first newspaper, one of the many epic collectibles in the game. Read all about it. Found a newspaper. What did I just pick up downstairs? We learn who's behind Isabella's attempted kidnapping, a former business partner of Fontanella, Ludovici. So we need to take him out. We snatch him out of his mansion, and if you want an easy trophy, instead of killing him, just do nothing to unlock the good ending. Man of honor. Enzo refused Tino's order. Okay. Don admires Enzo's bravery and loyalty to the family and decides to induct him into the Teresi family, getting our own place off the vineyard and finding our first Trinacria coin. Not a collectible you need, but a good way to make some extra money. Bona Fortuna. Trinacria coin? Jesus. I just butchered that so badly. There we go, this thing of ours. Enzo got made. We once again have a time skip ahead to 1906 and we team up with the Galantes to bring their counterfeiting practices to America, but to get the ball rolling we need to break the counterfeiter out of jail. During our prison escape is where I unlocked a few trophies, like getting my 20th knife takedown. Secret assassin. That's 20 knife takedowns, let's go. Alright, now we can do whatever. Found a mystery fox. Yes, they're back. Sneaky bastard. Volpe Mysteriosa. Oh my god. Alright, we got one of the foxes. And landed 30 headshots. Cold-blooded. 30 headshots. Lira for lira. Enzo freed the counterfeiter. We start seeing the riches come in from the Americans, one of which is a race car, which will help us enter a race to win some big bucks. First making sure to give the car a test drive, which if we beat the train, gives us another trophy. Full steam ahead. Beat the train. Too good, man. Too damn good. Now it was time for the big race, and yeah, this is nothing on Mafia 1. This one feels very much scripted in terms of when other races will pop in and out of the race, but it is still good fun and still has a missable we need to look out for. Completing the race in less than 8 minutes, which I did on my first attempt. Woo! Fastest man in Sicily. Completed the race in under 8 minutes. Easy. Everything's golden. Enzo won the race. With the counterfeiting business being a success, of course, things had to go pear-shaped, as Tino reveals the family has a traitor forcing them to stop business. The man leading the raid on the counterfeiting operation is a ruthless commander of the local authorities, but it's revealed that one of the Bastoni brothers was the one who snitched. We make sure the raid is ultimately unsuccessful, but Alhambra has to die, getting Enzo some much needed revenge. Teresi and Galante confront Don Spadaro about his men breaking the truce, but he denies any involvement, and there's not much else we can do about it other than wait for a clear-cut violation. The Rat. Time for another skip. On to 1907, and tensions between the Teresi and Spadaro families is palpable, and we're sent off to one of Fontanella's factories to investigate a supposed strike. The Don knows the supposed ringleader, Lorenzetti, so he is skeptical if the reports are true. It doesn't take long for the suspicions to be justified because Lorenzetti's place is smashed up and there's goons all over the factory, which provided the perfect target dummies for me to grab my 20th kill with a repeater and the pump action shotgun. Rare weapons expert, repeater. Cool. Okay, that's the pump action done too. Before finding Lorenzetti dying and Enzo being in the middle of an ambush set up by El Merlo, the remaining Bastoni, which we just barely escaped from. Total shutdown. Enzo found the foreman. Not dwelling too much on the ambush, we try to get back to a bit of normalcy and attend Luca's baby boy's baptism, which, can I say, as a story moment, the other Mafia games just don't have this type of connection. The Teresi family really does feel like a family, a community, and the beginning of this mission illustrates that perfectly. But of course, we can't have nice things, and Il Merlo attempts to take the family out on a holy day, which yes means finally he's signed his death warrant and we can finally get rid of this piece of human garbage, which feels incredible. No more running. Enzo killed his nemesis. Well, not really, but we'll take it, I guess. After the chaos, Isabella tells us she wants to leave the family behind and move to America with Enzo, who is conflicted. On the one hand, Isabella, but on the other, the Don and this community has given him so much to be grateful for. He'll have his mind made up pretty quickly though, as Galante and Fontanella push for peace talks between the families. A big thing with these peace talks, they're supposed to be on neutral ground. No fighting, that's important. The talks go pretty poorly though, understandably so. Fontanella reveals he intends to sell his assets, the vineyard included, to Spadaro, and Teresi refuses these terms. Because of course he does. The Spadaros are the ones being the absolute snakes, they get no repercussions for any of their goons' actions, and they get to take our home. As could be seen, a mile away, this rejection is also received poorly, and we get ambushed by the Spadaro's men, instantly taking out Don Galante and wounding Luca. It's chaos trying to escape and get Luca some much needed medical assistance, taking out 10 cars while escaping. Trail of destruction. Oh, hell yeah, it eliminated 10 cars. But ultimately, it's for naught, and Luca ends up passing away. Neutral ground, yeah. Right, what a setup. This rocks the entire family, putting everyone on edge, and you feel it in the world. This is when Sicily goes from a very vibrant, luscious locale to somewhere we need to get the hell out of. But not before we get justice for Luca, as the Don sends us to Palermo to assassinate both Fontanella and Spadaro. Isabella doesn't want us to go, revealing that she's pregnant and needs us to stick around. But we need to finish business first, and I'll tell you what, this game knows how to make revenge feel damn good. Taking out Fontanella, and in particular the douchebag Spadaro, just felt incredible. But after returning home, Enzo agrees with Isabella. They need to get the hell out of this life, and the only way to do that is to escape to America. They just need time. Most dutiful soldier. The Don's not done with us yet. The Spadaro head may have been cut off, but there's still others who need to pay for what they've done so that we can seize all of Spadaro's assets, and it's here we get another trophy for getting 20 kills with the Precision. There we go, Precision. And with the Spadaros all wiped out, the Don gives us the mine as a reward for our service. Leo helps us get some boat tickets, and now Isabella and Enzo's escape is on. Everything you deserve. We can finally flee to America. But if you've played a Mafia game before, you knew this was never going to be a happy ending. Isabella and Enzo are captured at the train station and separated. Isabella is to be married to Fontanella's son, and Enzo to meet his end back at the mines. Before the Don can kill Enzo, the volcano erupts and he flees, leaving Cesare and Enzo to fight it out, which of course we win, and spare Cesare, a man we grew to call a friend. We fight our way through Teresi men to try and get back to Isabella, getting our 10th explosive kill in the process. Bombers away! And ultimately come face to face with the Don to end this once and for all. The Don is a tough fight, but with some patience we do kill him, and just as we're about to finally leave to rescue Isabella, it happens. Cesare stabs us in the back and kills Enzo. Okay, so before I finish the story, this is where I see the most contention around the old country. Well, this and the no swimming controversy. What is wrong with some people? I don't know. This is a disappointing ending for Enzo because it feels a little cheap. We spared Cesare, we survived the gauntlet, we killed the Don. It was all shaping up to be a way to finally get ourselves a decent ending for the series. I think Enzo deserved to make it and deserved to end up leaving for Empire Bay with Isabella. But at the same time, these games never have happy endings. Granted, they've never killed a main protagonist either. Even Tommy got to live into old age with a wife and family. This ending did hurt. It was genuinely upsetting, but also something you can predict almost as soon as Isabella is revealed to be the Don's daughter. It was never going to end well, and shocker, it didn't. I think it would have stung a little less if we didn't get through so much in this chapter though. It was primed for a win. I don't think this is a bad ending, just not as well executed as it could have been. Anyway, with Enzo dead, we can still escape this hellhole. It's time to take control of Isabella and escape captivity before it's too late. This section is unnerving, very tense, but boy does it feel good to finally give Tino the axe. Cesare returns to the vineyard in flames, tells Isabella that Enzo didn't make it, but does help her and the baby escape and get on the ship to Empire Bay. And that's where the story ends, and we get ourselves 3 trophies for finishing the story, beating the game on any difficulty, and beating the game on hard, as well as leaving me with an experience in this great series that I think will stick with me for a while. I'm still trying to come up with ways that the final chapter was just a dream and they made it out. True Soldato. Beating the game on hard. Only one way out. Enzo and Isabella's story came to an end. The old country for beating the game on any difficulty. And that is the old country story done. In this, I would like, this should have been like a Tommy Angelo situation where if you're gonna kill off Enzo, it's probably when he's older. At some point they finally catch him, you know? Just by completing the story, we ended up with 32 out of the 51 trophies already done, and I could now finally look into the trophy list, which I hadn't done up to this point. Again, I wanted to avoid spoilers, so I had no idea if there was missable trophies or anything like that. Thankfully, there isn't. Well, there is one, but it's tough to make it missable, but I'll get to that in a minute. Also, we're in luck with the old country, there is a free roam mode and fast travel, which is huge. Anyway, to start off with, I wanted to knock out some really easy trophies, and they all seem to be related to driving. like fixing a broken car with a crank, which just involved me shooting the car until it broke and quickly cranking my Good as new. Easy peasy. We're on the board already. Customized a horse and car. There we go. Riding in style. Driving in style. Let's go. Drove at 120 kilometers per hour for a minimum of 15 seconds. Yay, buddy. Ugh. Getaway driver. And jumped a car over 40 meters. Daredevil. After the really easy stuff was done, I decided to head back into the story to clean up any trophies I may have missed along the way. So let's talk about what I think is the only technically missable trophy in the game, and that's for cracking a safe without the combination. What makes this tricky is once you pick up a safe combination, it's saved forever. You can't just replay a mission and not pick up the note, and there's not that many safes in the game. So just be careful, don't want to start a new game just to make it to chapter 3 for a single trophy. Salvatore's Apprentice. Next I head to chapter 5 where I actually grabbed quite a few trophies, but the main objective was to reach Ludovici without being spotted. But this is also a good spot to farm the knife kills we need. In the game there's 3 varieties of knife, one that can be used as a throwing knife and one that can be used to do takedowns while in combat. The other variety doesn't matter, but it auto loots enemies, which is why I used it a lot in the story. Anyway, we just need to farm the beginning area here and reload the checkpoint when we're done with both knives. Live by the blade. Then it was on to infiltrating the villa, which I think my big mistake the first time was using my knife. I think it only counts if you choke out the enemies, but this one was pretty simple. Just be sure to distract the enemies near the stairs with a coin and you'll be gravy. Phantasma, let's go. I also took this opportunity to get 2 more kill related trophies for getting 20 kills with the Vendetti and the Lupara. There we go, Vendetti. Woohoo! Lupara. Literally the last kill in this mission. Before moving on to the next missable. Yet another sneak related trophy for not being spotted on the way to the foreman's office. I failed this one almost immediately the first time, but the second time around, as long as you enter through the right side, and once again take your time and pick the enemies off one at a time, this is a one and done affair. The old ways. Then I skipped ahead all the way to chapter 13, where we had 2 missables to grab. One for reaching Mazzoni without alerting his men, pretty easy to avoid his men, just make sure not to be spotted at the very end by Mazzoni. Silent Hunter, there we go. And a more interesting trophy, take out Caccini before he reaches the Salt Flats, which if you just destroy his car before pushing forward, he can't go anywhere, making this a breeze. Not so fast. And pushing forward just a bit more to get the final weapon trophy for getting 20 kills with the Modelo C96. Modelo, let's go. I just had 1 story missable left, and this was a tough one even on easy difficulty. Beat Don Teresi in the knife fight without getting hit once. The Don is a very awkward fight. He does a lot of feints, throws a lot of combos, and a lot of unblockable or parryable attacks. He also doesn't take a lot of damage unless you play a bit risky with last second dodges and parries. So needless to say, this took quite a few attempts. Thankfully, the fight has checkpoints, and as long as you didn't get hit in the previous section, that counts when reloading the checkpoint. Yay, worthy opponent! We did it! But that was all the fun stuff done and dusted, and all that left us with was, well, honestly, the bane of all these platinum journeys, the collectible grind. Mafia the Old Country has 143 collectibles. That's 50 foxes, 50 newspapers, 20 saint cards, and 23 photographs. It's a big undertaking and it takes a good amount of time. Like, genuinely, I think my total time on just collectible hunting would be around 4 to 5 hours. Now in the beginning, it's not too bad. Fully exploring the beautiful world of Sicily without any enemies or threats to speak of, but it does get old quickly. Thank God the collectible guides dropped really fast for this game because some of these are downright evil to find yourself. I couldn't imagine trying to find all of these without help, so shout out guide makers, the unsung heroes, at least from time to time. Some people are reporting this to be a bug trophy, but I didn't have any issues with any of the trophies in the game. Although the collection trophy didn't pop until after I found the final fox, so keep that in mind. Mystery Fox Domination 48 and the collector. Thank God it didn't bug on me. That was such a long time to get that. And all that left me with was to buy every car from Pasquale. This costs a fair bit of money, but with the Trinacria coins we found along the way, plus a quick and easy money farming spot, we gathered the money, bought the cars, and our time with Mafia the Old Country was over. There we go. The finer things for buying all the cars and the Don. And that's Mafia the Old Country's Platinum Trophy done. It's also Platinum number 150, which is good. I'm glad this could, like an actual quality game, could be my 150th. So would I recommend you play and Platinum Mafia the Old Country? Absolutely I would. This was an experience I genuinely struggled to put down. The story had me hooked from the get-go, the world and characters are so compelling. I mean, this feels like a proper encapsulation of a Mafia tale. Mafia 1 and 2 are great in their own right, but the family bond here is on another level. Are the story beats a little predictable? Yeah, a little bit. It's a Mafia mobster story. They sort of all end up the same way in the end, but the journey was damn good and I'll remember it for a long time. The gameplay as well isn't perfect. It never has been, and some elements can get a little too repetitive, like the knife fights were just a bit too frequent, but overall in terms of the mechanics, without a doubt my favorite game to play in the series. The gunplay feels good, with a great bit of risk versus reward on hard, the driving is super smooth, and the enemy AI is actually engaging to fight, not just sit behind cover type of enemies. In terms of the platinum, it's what we've come to expect. The dampener again being the collectibles, but outside of that, a lot of trophies that come naturally, and the ones that don't are enjoyable to go out and grab. I think it's a worthy day one or full price purchase, but if 18 hours to complete the game isn't enough game time for you, just make sure you pick it up at some point, because I think, and I might be in the minority here, but I think this is right up there with Mafia 1 and 2, and that's quality company to be around. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into the video, make sure to leave a comment with Karusu to let me know that you made it to the end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts on Mafia the Old Country if you played it. Make sure to go and check out my Twitch channel as well. I'm back streaming, so come and hang out while we grab these platinums live. Shout out to the channel members for that extra level of support, and special thanks to the members of the Bear Club, Scott Unwin, Steel Vanguard, A It's Grey J, Dark Wolf, Zafado, Lug Knights, Golden Sparrow, Lord Alex, Kuzma, Jarvis McGee, Gene T. Papi, and One Wonder Hit. Thank you all, and I'll catch you in the next one.